Hello everyone, my name is Shuying and today I'm going to do this article presentation with Chen. So the article we are going to do this critical analysis is investigating the skills involved in reading test tasks through expert judgment and verbal protocol analysis, convergence and divergence between the two methods. So the content of our presentation consists of 8 parts and I will go through the first 4 parts. So let's look at the background information first. So this study mainly focused on these two methods for exploring the skills involved in reading assessments. And the first method is expert judgment, which concerns with calling out some experts in this field to predict the potential skills that may be used by test takers in the test task. And the second one is verbal protocol analysis, which refers to a means of eliciting and analyzing the cognitive process behind particular behaviors, and it is powerful in exposing many different types of conscious cognitive skills employed by test takers during the test. These two methods are widely used in investigating constructive reading tests, while neither of them are completely reliable in achieving this goal. So the problem is that few studies have triangulated expert judgment with other types of data and compared them in detail, but it is imperative to do that because lack of this kind of information may lead to questionable results due to the limited interjudge agreement and then affect the credibility of the following data analysis. In addition, there was little discussion of the nature and causes of this discrepancy between these two methods. So based on the discussion above, this study aims to systematically compare expert judgments on the skills and features of two sets of reading assessments with students' verbal protocol of test-taking process and to explore the convergence and divergence between the two information sources. And then it attempts to review the potential factors that can lead to these discrepancies. So this study does have some significance for future research. The first is to highlight the necessity to cross-check the results of expert judgments before they are utilized as the basis for further validation or statistical procedures. And it also provides a critical insight into the convergence and divergence between the two methods. So now let's move on to the methodology. The test materials used in the studies are two reading forms that are chosen from the diagnostic English language needs assessment, which focuses on students' academic English reading, writing, listening, and vocabulary. And they are identified as two forms, which includes a single text and a set of questions. And this table presents the test item types in each form. As for the participants, they come from two different groups. So the first group is expert judgment, which consists of 10 participants, 5 native speakers of English and 5 non-native speakers. And they all have achieved a master's degree in applied linguistics and language teaching, and they all had experience in teaching and developing language assessments. As for another group, it consists of 10 college students, and they have different majors and they have various backgrounds. As you can see, some of them are native speakers and some of them are international students. So this study employed two instruments for data collection in different groups. So for the expert judgment group, a task analysis form is used, which consists of 3 sections. So in the first section, the judge needs to identify the necessary information that needed to give correct answer. And the second section is about item construct. The judges rated each skill for each item on a 5-point scale to measure the extent of consistency between these two groups. So before participants in the expert judgment group conducting the real task analysis, they need to receive a task analysis guide, which can help them to be familiar with the analysis process. And then they need to do a training session. In this training session, they can practice the task analysis and discuss the results of the practice. And after the training, the participants can conduct the real analysis process independently. And for the verbal protocol group, students will receive a training session at the beginning as well, and then they started on doing the reading and answering these questions, and at the same time they need to verbalize their thinking process. And after the question, they were required to recall their test taken process, and then they will take a rest and then proceed to another reading test form. In order to analyze the data from the expert judgment group, in the first section, the collected necessary information was coded as either within or beyond the sentence, and the level of the textual engagement of each item was inferred based on the general agreement among the judges. And the G-theory analysis was used for analyzing the consistency among the judges in terms of their rating of items on the 11 reading skills and 6 item features. And these two indexes were used for evaluating the proportion of agreement. So if both values above 0.7, then it can be said that there is consistency among the judges. For data from verbal protocol, all 10 sessions were recorded and transcribed and coded, and with the progress of coding, new codes were created. They are test management skills, test wiseness skills, which are irrelevant to the text. And then a coding template formed, which consists of 12 reading skills, 5 test management skills, and 6 test wiseness skills. Finally, to check the coding reliability to make sure that most of the results are reliable.
I'm going to break down the rest 4 parts. So first, I will introduce the result analysis and interpretation. First, let's take a look at the result of the task analysis form. Necessary information shows different results in the 2 forms. Most items, the judges agreed with each other on what constituted the necessary information for each item. However, we could see here the difference between form A and B. In form A, necessary information of 26 items not only exists in one sentence, it involves the whole article. This means that test takers need to integrate multi-sentence information or understand the text at global level. In Form B, the necessary of 27 items usually belong to a sentence, which means that these items only require task takers to understand the article at the local level and focus on reading a piece of text in order to extract specific information from the text. Last part. Let's look at the result of task goal. So here at Form A, 22 out of 26 items from Form A achieved the general consensus among judges, while the rest of 4 items reached no agreement. At Form B, only 15 out of the 27 items achieved the general consensus, while the rest did not reach an agreement. According to the judges, across the 2 forms, the task goal for most items was understanding local explicit information with 16 items, understanding figurative language, and making elaborative inference. Both they are only 1 items. Result comparison. We could see the results by comparing 2 types of data, the expert judgment and the verbal practical analysis data. Here, of all 53 items in Form A and B, the judges agreed on 37 on the task goal. And for 28 of these 37 items, the student data is consistent with the judge's data. So this means that the skills used by test participants in these 28 items were as predicted by the judges. Therefore, out of all the items in both forms, with 28 items, the judges correctly predicted the main skill to be used by the test participant. So a 53% agreement was reached. Results it also shows the divergence. There is a big gap between the two types of data. First one is, in many cases, expert judgment did not correctly predict the skills that students reported using. For instance, whereas all items were judged to require processing words and understanding local expressed information, only a few items apparently induced students to use the corresponding vocabulary skill, and only one-third of the items engaged most of the students in extracting specific details. Second one is, some skills were more frequently reported than predicted. In some cases, students actually use more skills like understanding figurative language and pragmatic communication than expected. Even these skills became the prime skill to solve the item. The possible reasons cause the differences. First, test takers use the different skills instead of experts predicted. For example, more than half of the items were considered to require processing sentence structures from the items themselves, but they used the grammatical context from the item stem to restore removed words. Second, they prefer to use keywords from questions to find answers. The keywords of more than 20 items were used to identify the position of the answer, even though the judges felt that only 7 items were needed. Third, they did not notice the irrelevant options. The students hardly use the enumeration or enumeration option to enumerate instructions, and out of 13 items that experts thought could be used, only 5 were actually used by the students. Fourth, they did not the items through clues from other items. As for most of the items judged to be related to other items, now the students solved them through clues from other items. After analysis of the convergence and the divergence of two types of data, here is the simple conclusion. First, the study found that for about 53% of items, there was general convergence between the two sources, but the judges were less accurate at identifying other skills associated with each item. He also reviewed some possible causes in various inconsistencies between the two sources of information. At this research, let's see where needs to be improved. Limitation. First, each group of judges analyzed only one form of their assessment due to the cognitively demanding nature of the task analysis, and thus the comparability of judgments across the two groups is unclear. Second, these test tasks are limited in number, type, and skill distribution. For example, a multiple choice item to measure understanding of figurative language by the use of figurative language in multiple formats may reveal inconsistent evidence. Third, the current study did not investigate judges' thought process when taking exams and making judgments. Suggestion. According to those limitations, there are 3 suggestions. First, provides training to judges to simplify the analysis of two forms of assessments. Second, further research comparing the two approaches may need to involve tests specifically designed to include a range of formats and skills. Third, further research could collect this data of judges' thought process through oral presentation or follow-up interview or both. Such qualitative data would be valuable. For example, if some of the differences were caused by different language abilities, background knowledge, or cognitive styles.
So this study both have strengths and weaknesses. So one of the strengths is that it has a very clear literature gap, which can help readers to better understanding the purpose and aim of this research. And it also has great significance for further research in this field. And also it has some weaknesses. For example, lacking of investigating the effects of participants' various backgrounds, language proficiencies on study results, because this kind of factors may lead to the discrepancy of the results. So our discussion question is, what factors do you think caused the inconsistency between the data of expert judgments and that of students' verbal protocol?